Today, we're going to be doing something completely different from my typical videos where I'm going to dive through and answer common questions that I get when it comes to how to hire, work, and manage a virtual assistant. And we're going to do it all through ChatGPT, pretending to be you, a business owner, a founder, wherever you are in life, and basically having it ask me questions. So this is not going to be scripted at all. This is going to be just off the top of my head, whatever thing pops up as ChatGPT asks me this question. So this is not a trained ChatGPT at all. I'll show you guys. So just showing you guys, this is a blank ChatGPT. I have not trained it. It does have the memory of the last 2.5 years basically of using ChatGPT, but I will ask it for a certain thing. So I'm gonna hit the audio right there. You guys will be able to see it hopefully from the side here. As I talk to it. So can you go ahead and pretend that you are a business owner and you are super curious about how it is to hire, work, or manage a virtual assistant, and you're going to give me one question at a time. I'll just answer them. And basically kind of just, again, you're a business owner, you're a founder, and you're just asking me questions about working and hiring a virtual assistant. Go.
Sure thing. Let's start off with a basic question. What do you think is the very first thing a business owner should look for when they're trying to hire a virtual assistant?
Really good question. So the very first thing is that you're not looking for someone who has 10 years experience or more experience than you right off the bat. You're also looking for someone who is a good match values-wise. And the biggest reason why this is something that's super important is because you are going to be working with this person 8 hours, maybe, in a day, and you want it where it makes sense that you guys communicate in kind of the same way, where you have a really good communication flow. For some of our clients in My Business 2XU, they need someone who could be constantly communicating and updating that back and forth, or we have clients who just want to sync with their assistants once a week. So it's really important that you kind of have a shared value on things like your communication, how to give feedback, how to receive feedback, as well as setting expectations on what are the things that are okay and not okay when it comes to working together. So some of our clients like self-deprecating jokes, some of them not. So then it's learning and again setting that as part of the things that when you're looking for someone who is working with you, especially for that long of a time, and you're looking for someone who is a fit in a lot of different ways, not just for the skill side, but also on the side of someone who can work with you long term.
Absolutely makes sense. Values alignment is huge. Next question, when it comes to actually onboarding a new virtual assistant, what would you say is the most important thing to do in the first week to make sure they're set up for success?
Oh, super good question. So on their first week, the thing that I always have our clients set up when they're just starting out with their assistant is I have the assistant go through any data absorbing task. So email management is one of them, because then the EA starts understanding what are the things that should be off of the client's inbox and what are the things that should stay there and what are the things that they don't have the clarity on how to respond or how to categorize them. That gives basically the EA really good context on what's going on in the business, the current flow, without having to disrupt anything else yet. They're just seeing it as it goes. So email management is one. Sometimes like data management is a really good first week task as well. It could just be managing your Google Drive. It could be managing data you might have on a spreadsheet. It could be managing just looking over your own client's information. So whatever that looks like, anything that has to do with the assistant not really affecting anything else right away, but being able to absorb and observe things at the same time, and maybe starting to create the systems that'll make sense for them is kind of a perfect first week task.
Absolutely. That's a great approach to get them absorbing things without disrupting workflows. Next up, could you share a bit about how you recommend giving feedback to a virtual assistant, especially in that first month?
So when it's the first month, 60, 90 days, it's really crucial that you give feedback right away. And the biggest reason is if you are bringing on someone who has either 5 years experience or if they're just a new college graduate, they will have patterns and beliefs that might not align with what makes sense for you. You know, if in a past company, if they were doing content for them, they will have different preferences versus your preference. So it's better to go ahead and give them faster feedback during those first 30, 60, 90 days right off the bat. If you notice something that wasn't aligned or didn't make make sense, don't wait for them to correct it themselves, because they wouldn't know. They think they're doing a good job because you haven't said anything. So it's crucial for you as the business owner to be the one to give them that quick 1-minute praise if they're doing really well, or 1-minute redirect. And this is coming from the book, The 1-Minute Manager. I highly recommend them. I talk about it in my book, Scale You, where it basically gives you the framework of how to give a really effective praise, of making sure that you highlight what are the things that they got done and how it affects everything else, and then going back into what are the things that you're looking forward to. And if they did something wrong, the 1-minute reprimand is highlighting the thing that they actually did, not them as a person, the thing that they did wrong, and what are the things that you're looking forward to seeing in the next time. So you're giving them a framework of like, this is specifically the thing, this is not you as a person, but this is a thing that's put in a box. How can we fix this? Or this is how you fix it, depending on your management style as well, depending on where they're at. But giving effective feedback in that first 30, 60, 90 days is going to be a game changer in the long run, and how you don't find yourself repeating yourself 6 months later on a feedback that you already gave because there was just not a lot of clarity in there.
That's a super valuable tip. Giving feedback right away makes total sense. Another question, when you're deciding on the specific task to delegate to a VA, do you have a favorite method or kind of checklist you use to figure out what to hand off first?
Ooh, also really good thing. So when it comes to delegating, I always recommend using the WOW method. So the WOW method is when you're giving a task, whatever it is, you always give context. So the first W is why. Why is this a task in the first place? Basically, where does it affect everything else? Why does it need to get done? So you're giving them the context of what it is, especially when you're delegating something for the very first time. The O is the outcome. What is the actual outcome? Is it a PDF? Is it a Word doc? Is it a Google Sheet? Is it an Excel sheet? The more specific that you are when it comes to the outcome that you're giving to your assistant when you're delegating a new task, the better, because it gives them, of course, context to be able to keep things moving even without you there. Now, the last W on there is a what or a who. So it's what/who, where it's either what are the resources that they need, or who else do they need to contact or to notify about this. So these are basically your resources section of where they can find certain things, or what are the tools specifically they want them to use. Now, when it comes to kind of what to delegate, I always recommend to delegate things that are more recurring or routine, means that these are the daily, weekly, monthly things that doesn't really affect a lot of the growth of the company, but affects when it comes to the running and maintaining the rest of the company. So things like your reports, things like making sure that certain meetings are set up, things like post-meeting things that needs to be done. So for example, creating a report after a meeting, sending it to the client, creating proposals. Those are a little bit easier to delegate because there's a system for them to follow. And because there's a system for them to follow, it makes it easier for you to give them feedback if they are going on the wrong track or if they're doing really good.
That's a great framework. And the WOW method sounds like a perfect way to keep things clear. Let's go with another question. How do you suggest measuring whether a virtual assistant is actually having a positive impact after, let's say, the first 90 days?
Ooh, super good question. So this will be the last question because we want to wrap up. We don't want to drag this too long, but that's a really good way to end it, of like, how can you actually know if the assistant is kind of creating that ROI for you and your business, or if they actually make sense working with you long term. Now, the first thing is, before you even onboard them, before you even hire, actually, you want to set up what are those KPIs that you want them to affect. So if you are primarily hiring someone just for your admin or for essentially your sanity, is you measure it, of course, if number of hours of less that you worked, the less stressed that you are, and going ahead and counting what are the things that you're not anymore doing because they've just got it. They've been able to handle it. If you hire someone in sales, of course, looking at those sales numbers. If it's in marketing, look at his marketing numbers. So it is up to you to create that benchmark of what makes sense, on what is realistic as well, on when it comes to working with an assistant, and what makes sense in those first 30, 60, 90 days as milestones for them to be able to reach, for you to understand better if you want to work with this person long term, or if this is sadly the way, or the exit ramp, basically. This is now the time to take that exit ramp. So setting up those benchmarks, those milestones, and then reviewing them as well monthly. So it's not just going ahead and looking at the 90 days and then giving them all that feedback. Again, you want to make sure that in first 30, 60, 90 days, you give feedback regularly. And then you're also then reviewing every single month how that month went, assistant and being able to adjust the milestones as needed. So for example, let's say when you first started working with your assistant, one of the goals that you had was to reach 1,000 subscribers on YouTube, but you guys don't really have a formula down yet on how to be able to get that. You haven't been able to get the right audience, whatever that looks like. You just haven't been able to reach that goal, right? So you want to make sure that you then adjust to what is realistic, what your assistant can actually control, and what they can focus on to get to that 1,000 subscribers, rather than putting everything onto your assistant being the one in charge to getting you to that milestone, whatever that looks like. So it's making sure that, again, you have that regular feedback, regular retrospective, essentially, to be able to adjust the goals so then you can see if they're being effective or not, or if you're being too nice. And this is something that a lot of people pitfall into, is that they're a little bit too nice with an assistant. They're giving them too many chances rather than just nipping it in the bud. You want to make sure that you are being someone who sees it as a long-term thing. This is not just a 90-day project. This is someone, I want to work with this person for the next year or 2 years or 3 years, depending on the longevity of it all. Just keeping that in mind really helps when it comes to figuring out if this person is a fit or not.
Perfect wrap up. Thanks for answering all those. And that gives a really solid picture of how to measure the impact over time.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Happy to help out.
And that is basically how quick and easy it is to kind of also have ChatGPT create content for you. So because those were really good questions from ChatGPT, I can now just grab all of this, all of the text and back and forth that we just had, and I can now create this into multiple pieces of content. I might put it into a new book 2, basically, of the scale you of writing it. But I also wanted to do this video to kind of walk you guys through questions you might have in your head of how to work with an assistant, what it's like working with an assistant right off the get-go, and basically how to have ChatGPT have your back in a lot of those things. And if you guys like this video, and if you want me to do videos more like this as well in the future, let me know. Hit that like button below, comment questions you might have when it comes to working and hiring a virtual assistant. And if you're ready for that next step, go ahead and book a call with me in the link below to get you started with your own executive assistant. And if you still haven't yet, make sure to hit the subscribe button right there so you don't miss any of my videos every Thursday on business and AI. And if you want your assistant to learn more on how to be more an effective assistant, you can check out the first channel here, and of course the latest video right here. I hope you guys have an amazing and fantastic day, and remember that small steps matters, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!